Hey everybody! Welcome to Project Next Media. I'm here with my friend and neighbor, Brian Tincher, and we are going to talk all about bad bills. We have major, terrible bills being written in our district. Our people at the State House, at the State Senate, are writing bills so that we lose power here in Harrison County and in our town of Palmyra that will affect everybody in Indiana, and it will hurt many people. They want to take away our firehouses. They want to hurt our libraries. They want to make it harder to vote. We are going to talk about what bills they are attempting to get passed today and what we can do to stop them. So tune in, share, text to a friend, let them know what is happening, and let's work together to shine a light on this awfulness and stop it. Here we go, guys. Okay, let's see. If you are on, feel free to make a shout out to us. And Brian,
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about you. So Brian Tincher is my neighbor.
Yep.
I met him when I messaged about 50 people seeing if they wanted to run for school board
Yep.
at my kids' schools because they made it even harder to run for school board this year. They closed the window. They made it much shorter and people didn't even realize it. So there was nobody, and then just terrible people running for school board. And Brian said, I was thinking about that. And you stepped up and ran. Do you want to tell us just a few, like a minute about yourself?
Well, I live in Palmyra, have since 2007, originally from Marengo. So moved to the nice town of Palmyra. I love it here. I'm married and have 3 kids still in North Harrison School Corporation. So I'm involved. I'm involved for 5 more years before my youngest graduates. And so I go to a lot of stuff. I'm always at the school, it seems like, and just I love the community, love to be involved.
So you actually want to help schools, our public schools, and not destroy them and make them go private and charter schools?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I I understand where people want to go with charter schools, to give their kids the best opportunities they can. But so many children will be left behind if that happens.
It defunds public
So many
education.
kids.
And we don't have charter schools around here.
No.
And we don't have buses to take them to them.
That's
So
exactly right.
We will actually be doing a school board show coming up. I will be doing a school board show with Brian, and we want to link up with people across the country that are fighting their school boards and doing the best to protect their children in the schools. So more to come on that. Also, Scott Aaron Rogers is going to join us as soon as he gets free. Let's see, just texted me. He is coming. So we'll join Scott Aaron Rogers in just a minute. I'm going to talk first about what's going on at the State House. So the State House and the State Senate, our Indiana legislative, just started their 2025 session. So they had 5 full days on. Oh, there we go. Here is Scott.
Hey there, everybody.
Hello.
Glad we can hear you. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us. Scott, meet Brian. Brian, meet Scott.
Nice to meet you.
Brian is a neighbor and friend, and he ran for school board. And we are talking about first we're going to talk about the bad bills, but I wanted to briefly just kind of summarize what happens at Indiana. So Indiana has like a part-time legislator where for 3 or 4 months, starting in January, they make a bunch of bills and only a handful of them get passed and turned into a law. And then those laws usually go into effect in July, I think. And right now we're at that stage where hundreds and hundreds of bills are being passed, and we're trying to filter through all of them and pay attention to them and call out the worst ones. And then we hope that they don't get turned into laws. But we have extremists in power. We have a super majority. There's only like 10 Democrats in the state Senate out of 50, or is it less? And then
No, that's right. Yeah.
and then I don't know how many state house Democrats we have out of 100, but how many Democrats we have, but they have the supermajority, so they can do whatever they want. They can even go above the governor. Did you know that they can, even if the governor vetoes a bill, they can go back with their supermajority and pass it anyway. So yeah, they can override it. So they have a lot of power. And we have Gary Byrne is our state senator. I think it's for seat for District 47, I think. And then Karen Engelman is who I ran against for State House. That's District 70. So these two have been busy. They've been busy putting bills up and trying to get some really terrible things passed that would actually really hurt our local community and then hurt the whole state. So we wanted to talk about that. I wanted to first talk about the library one, which is Gary Byrne is proposed this. Gary Byrne really likes to attack our libraries. Last year he wrote one. Did you know this, Scott? Last year he wrote a bill to try to defund libraries and take away purchasing power from them so that they had control over what books and materials and things went to the library, basically saying he wanted the power over what we read in the library. And I just want to say, I think parents should get to choose what our kids read, and also adults should get to choose what they want to read and watch and do at the library. So thankfully that one got stopped and it didn't go too far, but he's got another one. Do you know what that one is, Scott? Do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to tell him?
Oh, you go right ahead. Sorry, I'm still getting my head on straight. I just came out of another interview, and I'm still like in
us. I know
other interview mode.
I like your hair. Okay, so Gary is proposing Senate Bill 283, and it's confusing. It's something about taxes, and you're like, well, what is it talking about with tax money? What it wants to do is it wants to add a bunch of more work for libraries to get the tax funding that they get from the state. So the libraries already fill out forms. They already go through a whole process to get our tax money that funds libraries. I think most of us agree libraries are wonderful. They do so many services most of us don't even know about, which I want to talk a little bit about today. But what Gary wants to do is he wants to make the libraries also have to go through the county. They want the libraries to do a bunch more work and to fill it out and get the money through the county, and then the county gives the money. Now, this would really hurt Harrison County libraries. I don't know who knows much about Harrison County politics, but for the last few years, our county government has not been appropriately funding things. They've been overfunding, and now we have a big deficit that we're hoping the community foundation and our casino money can pay for. So our county government is doing a crap job with our money and our tax money, and they're over promising, and now we need to get money from the foundation, and they're asking, I think it's around $5 million.
That's the last number I heard.
So if our libraries had to go through Harrison County government to get the tax money that they normally get from the state, I'm assuming they're going to make it very difficult and not want to give the libraries the money because they're already doing a really bad job with the money. So I think this would really, really harm Harrison County Public Libraries. I would imagine even if your county government is good, even if they do a great job, if your library at your county in Indiana has to go through extra government, that it's going to take longer. It's going to be harder. It's going to make the libraries have to spend hours and hours of work filling these forms that are unnecessary. It's going to harm all libraries in the state of Indiana. It's going to especially harm Harrison County libraries. Any thoughts, you guys?
Well, let's be clear what this is about, right? This is about putting political control on top of these libraries to make them cave to culture war things, right? A lot of the politics lately has been focused against LGBTQ folks, and so this is a way for local political leaders, say at the county level, to insert themselves in the purchasing decision of libraries. So if let's say one of these local officials with sensitivities to content that they call pornography, right? Which is like anything that depicts queer people in a positive light or just depicts them at all. Then they will be able to hold this library hostage until they remove whatever they object to, right?
Right. And I know Gary Byrne a little bit. He's in our community. You can find him. He's spoken to me several times. I went to battle with him last year when he tried to take away purchasing power and take away power over what libraries could put in the library. And I would talk to voters and I would explain what he was doing. Then they would go and talk to Gary, and Gary would say, I'm trying to protect your children from reading scary materials. And I kept saying, that is not what this is. They want control over the libraries, and they're using fear tactics to get you to think he's trying to protect your kids. We don't need that protection. The parents can look at the materials on the library and decide if we want our children to read them. So Gary, we don't need you protecting our books. We would like you to leave our libraries alone and stop hurting them. So you can contact Gary Byrne. He's on Facebook. You can go to his government website. I don't know, Scott, would you mind pulling up Gary Byrne's information and putting it in the chat, please? You can contact him and say, stop harming our libraries. Harrison County Libraries is amazing. We go there all the time. I use the services. Did you know you can get free internet, free hotspots through the library? You can get 2 weeks of free internet. And then once you use them, then you sign up and you're on a waiting list. I know a lot of local people go there for faxes. They go there for help with there's a librarian's a notary person. They get a lot of DVDs, so people that can't afford streaming can go there and get entertainment. Besides books, there's also all these workshops. There's so many things that our library does. I took my children, especially before they got into kindergarten, all the time for their services. So please call there on the comments. Here it is. Please give Gary Byrne a call and let him know to take this bill down. Every year that he's in power, that he tries to harm libraries, we will work together, shine a light, and try to stop it. It doesn't matter what political party you are. We all want to protect our amazing libraries. So let's stop making it so that our libraries have to ask the county for the money that they deserve. Let's take that extra paperwork and that power out, and let's just let it keep going like it's going. We're not asking for more funding for libraries. We just want them to leave libraries alone. So please stop harming them. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next one, I don't know the number on this. If you want to look for it, Scott, you can, but I want to talk a little bit about school board. Gary Byrne has been on the school board of North Harrison before. I've talked to many people in the administration and teachers. They were not fans of him when he was on the school board. He doesn't seem to be a fan of public education. Now his wife, Angie Byrne, is vice president of the school board. That's who Brian was up against. So he has an invested interest. His wife is on the school board. He is proposing that school boards be partisan. He wants to make it so you put an R or an I or a D on school boards. They're already trying to do that in our county. The Republicans are already trying to make school board partisan. I did not. I openly endorsed 2 people that weren't Democrats, including you, Brian, and then my friend Jama. And they would put it on their mailers. They would put it on their mailers how the candidates running for school board voted in the last 4 or 5 primaries.
Yep.
And they would put whether they voted Republican or not, so that you would pick the most Republican candidates, which shockingly were the ones they wanted to win. And they did win. So, and then they already made it so that the open window for school board elections when to run is narrower. So it's already hard enough to find candidates in that small window. So they've already done a lot of damage, but just be aware Gary Byrne is trying to make our school boards partisan. He's putting politics in front of our children's needs. The overall goal there, I know you know this, Scott and Brian, the overall goal of these people defunding our public education is they want power in positions of government. Once they get power, they take a wrench, they take a hammer, they take an axe, and they just chop up whatever the public good is as much as possible. And then they go, oh, look what a bad job government's doing with this service. Let's make it private. Private would be better. And it's like, but you're in charge. You have you're dismantling it. You're tearing it up. That's what Gary and others are trying to do to our public education, our libraries, and our school boards. So be aware that is the overarching goal of what they are trying to do, and we have to shine a light on it to stop it.
Because ultimately, it's about control of money, like the library issue. You use the culture issues as an avenue to get what you want, so that you can control the money. And the same is going to be with privatized school. It's all going to be about money. There's a couple from Indianapolis who are in some serious legal trouble because they started an online school and took the money. And I think they got in trouble because they sold their condo in Miami or something to that effect. And it's because they got the money for students. And when these charter schools close, these kids are left without a school. So what do you fall back on? You fall back on your public schools.
Yes. Yes. So we will talk a lot about protecting public education and stopping this massive defunding that they've been doing the last 20 years. They're going to keep going. They're going to try to pass more. I would say that we have a high chance of them passing something against public education. That seems to be their biggest thing that they're going after for the last few years. So we will be watching and just follow us at Project Next here so that we can try to protect education. The other thing Gary Byrne is trying to do, I'm going to put on there his number again. You can even just call him right now if you want. You can write him. The calling the office would probably be best if you called it during office hours, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, because that's when they're actually there. So I would recommend writing that phone number down and just putting it as a reminder in your phone to call sometime tomorrow, maybe call once a day, to let him know we're upset about the bad bills he's trying to pass. But the other one we wanted to bring up was early voting.
Yeah, hey, Sarah, can I mention something really quick before you get into that? Because I just got off this call with Katie from Mad Voters, and this is one of the things we were talking about was calling your elected official. And number one, when you do, yes, call during the office hours, try to talk to their legislative assistant, leave a message and everything. Maybe also instead of just saying, hey, this bill you're proposing is trash, and this bill you're proposing is trash, find something else to say, hey, I like this bill, support this bill, or here's another one that maybe you're a co-sponsor on. Good job on that. So it's not just all negative, you give the old compliment sandwich. Like, here's 2 good pieces of legislation and 1 bad one.
Do you have any good legislation that is being passed that they could say?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have an episode coming out tomorrow with Katie Rector from Mad Voters at scottaaronrogers.substack.com and on Who's Left YouTube page, and we'll talk about some of those there.
It's also a podcast you can get on Apple or Spotify. It's called Who's Left, HOOSLEFT. So I'll be listening to that tomorrow morning. I would say my compliment for Gary is he is at least available.
Yeah.
I see him at events. I see him out talking to voters. He comes up, shakes my hand, and talks to me. I've told him some things how I feel. He's told me things how he feels, and we can be civil. He doesn't lose his temper. And I appreciate that he actively talks to voters. I know when Katie Fort ran against him 2 years ago, he debated her. My person, I ran against Karen Engelman, who's in power now. She wouldn't debate me, nor comment, nor talk, nor have any discussion with me. So I do feel like you might actually hear back from Gary Byrne. I don't know whether I would believe the words that are coming out of his mouth. I don't know whether he believes them, but I know that it's misinformation and it's not true and it's harming our students and our future. But I know that he will probably talk to you. So I if you don't want to say a bill, say I appreciate that you actually listen and talk to the voters. Do you agree? Yeah. So I appreciate that he does that. He's not some unknown person like Tim Peck's opponent, Erin Houghton. You can't find her. No. People even fly down to DC, have a scheduled meeting with her, and she doesn't show. I mean, it's bad. So at least he is there.
I saw her recently on a milk carton.
That's That's a good one. Oh my gosh. Okay, so early voting. So Gary Byrne is also trying to do Senate Bill 284. He wants to make the window for early voting even smaller. He wants to shorten it to 1 week, including up only until noon the day before. He basically is trying to suppress the vote. Here in Indiana, we are ranked either 50th or almost 50th in every measurement of voting. So that is a big tactic these people in power use to stay in power, make it very hard for people to vote. And I actually have had a few people, unnamed sources, tell me things where he goes to their system and finds out, do you help people vote? I'm going to see if I can stop that. So he actively around the community tries to suppress the vote any way he can. I tried to early vote this in November because I was on the ballot and I wanted to spend as much time campaigning. I went to go early vote and the early vote wait time was an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I ended up voting day of because it was an hour and a half to 2 hours wait. Even with, I think is it 2 weeks now? Does anybody know how long we get to early vote? I think it's 2 weeks.
I think it's a little longer than 2 weeks,
Yeah,
but it's not nearly as long as some states.
So maybe 3 weeks. Okay, so 2 or 3 weeks of early voting, and it was too hard for me to early vote, so I went day of. So it's already long lines. So why would we make it shorter?
I think it's about centralizing people's time span with which they have to just make a decision. So it's kind of like walking into a grocery store while you're hungry. You're going to make bad decisions. But if you have less of a window to do your research, then you're just going to go on the slick marketing that you get in your mailbox. You're going to go with whoever had the prettiest postcard. You think, well, I like that smile, so I'll go with them. Or if you're really short-sighted, you're just going to go with who you're told to vote for. Kind of like the Braun campaign this last election, letting people know that they'll know who you voted for.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible.
So if you see something like that, then you're going to be scared to vote a certain way. So I think it's all about limiting people's time span.
They don't want you to research.
Or just making sure you don't vote at all. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They don't want you to do research because then you find out, for example, that our state senator likes to try to pass terrible bills that hurt us. They don't want us to work together. They don't want Republicans not voting straight party and working for the best person. And I'm here saying, let's work together to protect our community. They don't like that message. They know there's more of us than of them. They know we can work together. They are very scared. If they weren't scared, they wouldn't be trying to suppress our vote. So I want you to find hope in that. The fact that they are working so hard to make it even harder for us to vote means they are scared. It looks like Indiana is so super extreme. We're not. The majority of us care about our children and our futures and our communities, and they want to vote for the best people. They just don't realize they aren't.
Right.
So that's why we're doing this.
And they make it hard for us to vote for the right people through gerrymandering and other tactics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty impossible. It was pretty impossible for me to win my race in State House with how gerrymandered District 70 is. It's incredibly rural. It's fake. It's a fake district. It's not like they did it equally. They drew around and they eliminated cities and they kept me in very rural areas so that I couldn't door knock and talk to these people. And so that these people either don't vote or they vote straight party Republican. And I think I got 27% of the vote, which is a little bit higher than expected considering how badly it was gerrymandered. But how do you win on that? Yeah. How do you win? So yeah, that's another thing. But I do want to point out both of these people, Gary Byrne and Karen Engelman, who we're going to talk about next, both of these people will be on the ballot in 2 years. Mm-hmm. And so I'm probably going to run against Karen Engelman again, or somebody else. And we will need to find a good person to run against Gary Byrne for state Senate. We had a good one 2 years ago. We're going to need somebody. So if you want to get involved, we will help you with that. Okay. Anything else before I move on to Karen Engelman's the biggest one, the one that hopefully Rick Cannon is still on because he's a volunteer firefighter and he's going to help with that. So we want to talk about The next
Yeah, we
Senate
saw Rick in
bill,
the
or the
comments.
State House
Yeah.
bill, State House Bill 1233. If you'll pull that up, Scott, that would be amazing.
I got you. Yep.
You're doing such a great job. Thank you for doing this. Okay. So this is the big one. 2 days ago, Friday night, or maybe it was Saturday. It was Friday night and Saturday, I started getting bombarded with messages from people in the community.
Mhm.
Have you seen this? Have you seen this bill that Karen Engelman, State House, who I ran up against, she lives in Harrison County, that Karen Engelman is proposing, and everybody was saying this is terrible. So this is, let's see, Donnie showed this one. Okay, so this bill wants to take away town power, township power, town power. It wants to eliminate township fire departments, which are mostly volunteer, and save billions of dollars of our tax-paying money. And I know that Rick Cannon has info on that. There it is. Wait, there it is. Okay, so here's some of what it's going to do. And then it wants to eliminate town councils, township trustees. And then is there anything else I'm forgetting? So
yeah, township government dissolved. County executive will assume all the duties of the township trustees, and they're going to dissolve all the fire protection districts and make counties implement new fire districts.
Okay, so let's talk about fire. I think that's one of probably the most important. They want to eliminate firehouses in townships. In Palmyra, we just spent 11 years working super hard to get a new firehouse built. We had the oldest one in the county. We have more money than a lot of counties because we have a casino and we have that tax money. It was so hard for them to get the firehouse built. People had to put so much pressure on county government to allow it. We had to get all these grants, and there was just so many people spent their volunteer hours fighting for this. We finally have one. Just this fall, it opened. It's right by my house. It's so much better than the old one. It is fantastic. And I want to give props to Josh Norman, our chief firefighter. I don't know what his official title is, but he's the one in charge, and he's the main one that helped get this built. And I want to thank Fred Uhl, who used to be township trustee and works on the nonprofit board to help get that built, and everybody else that was on that board. They worked so hard to get us a new, safer, better firehouse. If with this passes, we lose it.
Yep.
We lose control of it. We lose it. We are not as safe in emergencies. And firehouses don't just protect us in fires. They're the main people that show up when people call 911 with multiple types of disasters. So they're helping us with all kinds of problems. And I sleep better at night knowing that Josh Norman and his volunteer team are watching us and protecting us. What about you?
Yeah.
And Rick was saying, he sent me some information saying that in a 2020 report, it found, I think it was $5 billion were saved in Indiana state government because of volunteer firefighters. So this would kind of eliminate that for the volunteering firefighters. So this bill would cause so much more money to be drained of our tax-paying dollars. Let's see. Okay, so the Indiana Volunteer Firefighter Association has over 14,000 paid members. That's interesting. Keep going, Rick. Keep telling us stuff because this is interesting. I know that the local firefighters in my town are very upset about this. I know that a lot of like veterans and people involved in the community are very upset about this because they're sending it to me. They're like, you need to talk about this. The county wants control over these towns. That's what this is about. Okay, so this is not an accident that Karen Engelman from District 70 from Harrison County is proposing this bill. They want control over Palmyra. They don't like it that we get to rule ourselves. We have a good town council. We have a good town marshal. We have a good township fire department. We've got a lot of things going for us, and we don't listen to them when they try to hurt us, and they want their greedy little hands. They want control over Palmyra. So I'm sure there are other counties that want control over their towns. I want to talk about town councils. I don't think people realize town councils have a lot of power over their town. It is so important that you get good people running for these roles and that they take the responsibility seriously. And then they live in the town and they get to protect the town. So our town council is good. They're doing their best and they are making laws to help our community. And I know it's upsetting the Republicans in Harrison County. I know they want control. They've tried to get control. And it hasn't quite worked like they want. So now they want to eliminate town councils. Right. I cannot tell you enough how important it is for town councils to have control over their own little town. Indy, the county, other people don't know what Palmyra needs. You need Palmyra citizens overseeing Palmyra. I don't want to go to your town of Bloomington and tell you what to do, Scott. I don't live there. I don't know the specific problems of that area. The people that live there should be overseeing what's going on in Bloomington, right?
Absolutely. Well, this is one of the things the supermajority in the state government has been up to the last several years. They really like to talk about local control. Let's keep those politicians from Washington out of our business or whatever, right? But then when localities in the state of Indiana, cities, towns, townships, whatever, do something that the state government doesn't like, then they're very quick to come in and say, yeah, maybe Indianapolis should be making these decisions.
Right. I'm a little bit concerned about this bill because I've heard people think that maybe it's a good thing. And one of the reasons they say is township trustees. And I'm telling you right now, giving people that aren't in your area control, especially in Indiana when there's so much lack of oversight, that's not going to be any better. It's just going to be worse. So I want to talk about township trustees. I know that some township trustees are not great with their power, but I also know there are a lot of good township trustees. So it just depends on who you have. We have a really good one in Morgan Township here in Palmyra, one that really cares about people and tries to help. He's a Republican. We had a good one before him too, Fred Ohl, my friend. So township trustees, when you can't pay your water bill or your electric bill or your rent and you're going to lose those, you can contact your township trustee. And then if you meet the requirements and you fill out some paperwork, they can give you some money. Yeah. They give you money that the state government gives to them to help people in need. Now, if your township trustee is not good and the township advisory board who makes the rules for your town is not great, they make it too hard to get money. Mm-hmm. I think right now that's one of our problems. It's too hard to get money. And I wish the advisory board would make it easier for people. I'm not going to judge every single thing these people in need are doing and tell them they're spending their money wrong, because you don't know what it's like to be in that stressful situation and to barely be able to put food on the table and stay in a house or apartment or whatever. So I'm not going to judge. I wish the advisory boards would make the requirements easier and we would just help people. I'm perfectly fine with some taxpayer money going to prevent a family from going homeless.
Yeah, and poor relief is one of the essential duties of a township trustee. Poor relief and taking care of abandoned cemeteries, and I think there's property line issues that a trustee can take care of, and then of course the fire departments. And trying to get rid of township governments, it's not a new thing. I think in 2009, under Mitch Daniels, he commissioned, I think it was a bipartisan commission that said that needed to be gotten rid of. And then most of these bills die in committee. And I think in 2019, there was a commission that said it should be, townships should be centralized, and even some eliminated and some made larger. So I think that was House Bill 1005. So it's not a new issue, but it's in committee. So these bills that are in committee right now, they can be stopped, but it takes involvement.
And it's what you all said. Whenever the county or the state government sees these local small towns and townships doing things they don't like, they want the control, they want the power. And this is a power grab.
Mhm.
This is a power grab. Our county government wants control over towns and townships. And they're trying to do that with this bill, which would end up harming all of us, regardless of how you feel about your town council. Fire. We need our fire protection. We want to keep that local. People that live here want to protect the community that they love. We have got to protect that. We need to protect township trustees, in my opinion. We also could do better oversight with how they're spending their money. Sometimes township trustees get greedy and they take the money, and it's really hard to catch them and stop them.
Yeah, because Harrison County had a trustee. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it's been several years ago, that paid themselves quite well. And this particular trustee employed his wife as the secretary, and they were paid quite well out of their budget. And these budgets are quite big. They're over, most townships get over $100,000.
Wow. I don't think I knew that. I did not know that. That's amazing. I'm seeing people in my community get help from township trustees.
Yes.
Some from the one we have now and the one we used to have. So our town has a good one. I don't want to eliminate that job.
No.
And I definitely do not want to give it to the county government people.
Right. Because if township government goes away, it says in the bill that it goes to an executive, one county executive. So you have numerous trustees in the county, all situated within their communities, and they know what's going on and they know who to help. And you're gonna take that away and you're gonna give it to one person. And you know that one person is going to be a political appointee. It's somebody's buddy. It's somebody's relative. I mean, we've got an issue here in the county where somebody's relative runs a department and there's money missing. So that's what happens when you have these bills that want to take things away. They're going to take away the power, but they're going to take the money and put it somewhere else. They're going to put that money in somebody else's hands. And what is that person going to do with it? And if it's all along political lines, then that money's going to be spent along political lines. And that's when you run into problems.
Yes. I want to talk a little bit about local Harrison County government corruption that we have going. We have a Republican chair that has a lot of power over who gets on the primary ballot. He has kicked numerous people off. He goes through, he knows all the rules. He's kicked people off of the ballot if he doesn't like them, if you don't follow his authoritarian rule, his stronghold. And then we have a park superintendent that has too much power. Larry Shickles. He's on a lot of boards. He was chair of the Republican Party. And when our park superintendent retired, and that guy did a good job when he retired, Larry Shickles gave himself the job of park superintendent, and it is not an elected job. We cannot vote him out of this. It's appointed. He appointed himself, and then he gave his friend, Scott Floor, chair of the Republican Party. And Larry is on many things. He is on the hospital board. He is the elected Republican official that oversees elections in our county. It used to be Scott Floor, but now it's Larry. He's also on the property board. This is a new one. I can't believe they gave this to him. And so now he has voting power over whether something is granted property in our county. And he tried to use it recently to stop the Boys and Girls Club from being built in Palmyra right next to the firehouse. This is going to be an incredible thing for our community, that Boys and Girls Club. And he asks for a lot of money for the parks. And then in the last few state audits, he has missing money. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the receipts, some people get paid a lot of money and some people don't get paid very much money at all. And the state is aware and concerned about our parks department and the receipts and the money. I don't know why we keep giving him so much money, but we do. And then we just keep giving him power. So if our town loses control over these entities that take care of the citizens of the township, he would be having a lot of say over these things. He would be, who has so much power in our community, he would get power over Palmyra, which is something he's wanted for a long time. No power is enough for him. That's why I ran for county council 2 years ago, to bring up parks department corruption. People are more aware of it. Of course, I didn't win county council. And then I brought it up again when I ran for state house, and I will not stop bringing it up until people look at these state audits and look at what he's doing. But just realize, if we eliminate townships, we are giving people that have a lot of power in county government more power over us. And I guarantee you, they don't care about our lives. This is a money and power thing.
Because as you analyze all these bills, all these proposed bills, the central theme is to take away from the many and centralize into one. And Harrison County is lock, stock, and barrel Republican. Now, I don't want to say anything bad about Republicans. I'll do that off air, but they like power, and they've held power, and good for them. But to centralize everything, what you're doing is putting all the money in one account, and from that they'll do what they want with it. And so to allow Republicans to just keep going and keep going and keep going and doing whatever it is they want to, where does it end? And where does it end for the people around here, or the people in any part of the county, any part of the state that need help and need some resources to make their lives better? And you can't get it, because instead of we were talking about, like Sarah was talking about, somebody needs help with an electrical bill. So instead of being able to just go down the street to your trustee, you got to go to Corden and stand in line. You got to go sit and wait, or make an appointment to talk to that one official. And that doesn't get you anywhere. How long is it going to be before you get some help to get your electric back on?
So it's going to slow it up, and then your chances of being turned down are much greater.
Yeah, because
it's another hoop to jump through,
Another
right?
hoop
And then
to
just
jump
by
through.
adding hoops, they're hoping people give up.
And people do give up when your life is so stressful.
Mhm.
Filling out forms is another stress.
Yeah.
Having to go farther away is another stress. Some of these people, transportation is an issue.
Mhm.
And you want to be as helpful as possible. Our township trustee cares about his neighbors, cares about the community. He lives in Palmyra. He will go out of his way to meet with you and to help you.
Mhm.
We're giving it to somebody that doesn't live here, and we're just gambling that they care about us. Also, when it's so local, when it's such a small election, you have a greater chance of electing somebody that's a good person.
Mhm.
If they're locally known in their community for helping everybody, which our township trustee is, it helps them get elected.
Yeah.
If you take that away, and it's a much bigger, you take away our town's power to elect someone that will care about us.
And I think you hit it on the head right there. You said that our trustee helps his neighbor, whereas this elected, or this appointed official, he's going to look at who you are. Did you pull what ticket did you pull?
He's going to look
last
at your primary record. Did you vote for
Did
them?
you vote for my party? And if you didn't, maybe you're.
And if you don't think they're going to do that,
application
look at the mailers we got. We got 2 mailers that showed how the school board people voted in the primary. They love looking at that record and seeing how you voted in the primary. They will kick you off of the ballot if you voted one time for somebody that's not a Republican. They've done that several times in our county on our ballot.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't know is, let's say you're just an average citizen and you decide you want to get involved, and you go down, you pick an office that you want to run for, and you go down to file your papers, and you're allowed to file your papers to run for an office. Well, Indiana has a rule that pertains to the last 2 voting cycles. And if you didn't vote in those voting cycles, they don't have to let you on the ballot. And so
in their party.
So
So you pull the other party's ballot for strategic reasons. So, a lot of Democrats did that this past year for the governor's race. They maybe voted Republican so they could vote against Mike Braun in the primary, right? Even though they're a committed Democrat. Well, those people kind of have disqualified themselves for running as a Democrat for at least the next 2 cycles.
But not if you have a good chair. Like we have a good chair on the Dem side, so we would accept people that if they're a good person and they want to help the community, we would gladly let you run on the ticket as a Democrat. But in the county, if you're a Republican in Harrison County, you have to follow that rule, the authoritarian rule. You have to vote Republican every time in the primary. You have to do certain things or they will kick you out, which is basically you do as you're told if you're going to get that position. And then
that's how Jim Banks kept John Rust off the ballot. Yeah.
I just want to say in our county, not every Republican is bad in office. In our Palmyra Town Council, everybody's Republican, and there's a bunch in our township trustees Republican, and a bunch of them are fantastic people working really hard to help save us. In the county council and in the commissioners, I am friends with people on both of those, and they are good people. It doesn't stop the stronghold. It doesn't stop the authoritarian. We tell you to vote this way, and they vote that way.
Yep.
And if anybody bucks the system, they get out. They get voted out. It might take a couple years, but if you start saying, wait a minute, why are we giving so much money to parks? Bling, they get you out of there. So
you want to be involved, you toe the line.
It's never good to have one political party be in control of your whole county. It's never good if it's all Democrat. It's not good if it's all Republican. Right. You should have both. You should have both, not trusting each other, holding each other accountable, and expecting the best. That helps keep the better people in those offices. If you have competition, since we don't have competition, I think that's another reason our state house and state senate reps are introducing the most terrible of the bills, because it's so easy to stay in this job, to get voted Republican, straight party ticket. It's so easy. So they don't have as much to lose by, hey, I'm just going to take down libraries. I don't care.
And once things are done and it looks bad, well, they'll find a way to make it look good. Don't worry, they'll make it look good.
Another thing that Rick Cannon said, someone could get elected that doesn't know anything about firefighting, and so they would really mess with the budget, mess with the rules, and it would end up costing people's lives. Yeah. Their stupidity, their being uninformed, would hurt people, and I think that's probably what they fear the most, besides like loss of funding, loss of control. People are going to get hurt with this bad bill, this loss of local power where the local people care about everybody. So this is scary. We can stop it. You all, this is what Project Next Media is. It is not a Democrat or Republican thing. It is a people thing. We care about people. We care about communities. We care about making our lives better. It doesn't matter how you voted. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you voted for Karen Engelman in November against me. I don't care. We need to work together now to stop these bad things from hurting us. I need Democrats. I need you to let your emotions go, your hurt go. And I need you to be welcoming. I need you to teach and talk to your neighbors, your friends, your family. They probably don't know what's going on. I didn't know about these bills until people sent them to me. They don't know what's happening. You need to teach them and tell them in a nice, loving way. And if somebody tells you something back that you don't agree with, don't get in a fight about it. Just listen. It's okay if y'all don't agree. Brian and I don't agree on everything, and we care about each other, and we're friends, and we can talk about it and be okay. I can't say that enough. If we keep yelling at the other side, how are we going to help our community? We're just going to keep hurting ourselves. So please, please, please let your ego go, let your hurt and your anger and your frustration and your fear, and talk and listen, and let's work together to stop these people from doing more damage to us.
I'll tell you what, Sarah, I don't want to toot my own horn, but in my latest Substack article, I was writing about this very thing. The red and blue lenses we've all been looking through, Republican and Democrat alike, are not serving us well. No. And so if we take off those old red versus blue glasses and sort of just shift our perspective a little bit, and I like to think of it as like green and purple, right? Instead of red and blue, it's green and purple. Purple is all of us, right? We're bruised, we're beaten, we're knocked down from just carrying the burden every day. This working people, right? We are the purple team, and green is the people with the money.
Yep.
Right. Red and blue, don't look at that anymore. We're all purple. And then the
purple against
is
green.
Those few very, very rich people with all the money.
And they don't want us working together. There's more of us than of them. We still have a right to vote. It might be harder in Indiana, but we still can do it. And if we keep growing, working together, we can elect better people. But until then, we can put pressure on the ones in power to not do the most terrible of things. I want to post what Dave is saying here about fire departments. Fire departments should not have to have fundraisers to cover their basic needs. We had to have a bunch of fundraisers to fund our new firehouse. Electricity, gas company, fuel for fire trucks should be funded by budgets. Some departments lack funding due to the amount of state grounds, state parks, nature preserves, state-owned ground in their primary coverage area. State ground does not pay taxes. So that's information I didn't know. Thank you, Dave. I agree with you. We had to do a bunch of funding just to get our firehouse, whereas our parks are getting millions of dollars. I didn't understand why the parks would get such a giant amount of our tax money when the parks don't save our lives, and why it was so difficult for the firehouse to get money. It was something everybody wanted except for a few people in power. Right. So yeah. Thanks, Dave. And then Rick is saying things. We have a lot of state parks in his area. We don't even get money for running first responder runs or running into, I don't know what a TIF district is. Do you know what that means?
It's a tax district.
A tax district. Okay, good. I didn't know that. That's terrible. And then here is Scott's Substack for the amazing thing he was just talking about that you can read. I want to tell you about some good things we've got going before we end up here. I'm doing a live with Tim Peck, my co-founder. He's a medical doctor, tomorrow at noon at your lunchtime. About easy things you can do to live a healthier and happier life. So that's a little bit more of an upbeat, positive episode instead of bad pills. And then January 28th from 5 to 10 p.m. for 5 hours straight, we are doing a telethon where we are going to raise money for Project Next Media. We need to fund our content creators. Scott and Karen are our first content creators that we've got. We need to fund them. We need to get money for advertising so we can advertise on social media, and we need money for equipment. So we have one donor already. Shout out to Ellen Kelly. Love you, girl. She has sponsored. She bought StreamYard that I'm using, and she has helped buy some more equipment for us, and we need a little bit more so we can keep growing. The telethon is going to have a bunch of guests on it. I asked Dan Cannon, he's a civil rights lawyer who is a local hero around here. He was on the Supreme Court case that got marriage equality. Isn't that cool? He's going to come on. My friend Pam, who runs a rescue center for dogs, is going to come on and show us her dogs. Sean Bostock, who is our local hero. He's an independent journalist who uncovered the Jamie Knoll stuff for when everybody thought he was just making up stuff. And now Jamie Knoll's in prison for horrific things against our community. Sean Bostock's going to join, and then others. We'll get more on. I might see if Brian can stop over and talk about school board a minute. Scott's going to be on there. Corinne's going to be on there. Tim Peck's going to be on there. It's going to be epic. So mark your calendars, January 28th, Tuesday, 5 to 10. And then we've got Who's Left podcast is fantastic. If you want to know more about local Indiana politics, go to that. It's free. You can, I have it on podcast form. So I get it on Apple Podcasts, and I scroll through and pick out the best ones. My favorite, I'm on there, by the way. You can find out about my trauma with my birthing situations. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, you're amazing. You're such a good interviewer. My favorite one is the one you did on toxic masculinity with the author that wrote that book.
That's Jared Yates Sexton. Yeah. Hoosier, by the way. One of my favorite authors.
I loved that episode. It was amazing. The empathy, the things we need to do to protect our men and to help our boys. I thought that was really fantastic. So anyway, get on there. I've learned a lot about state government. When I was running for State House, I listened to his podcast to find out about state government issues. So thank you, Scott, for educating me while I was running.
You, Sarah.
And then more episodes to come. Corinne is going to have a second show. Corinne Straight, she's a TikTok star. She's going to have her second episode of Plots and Politics soon. A lot of stuff going on in politics in Indiana. So we'll probably be talking about this and other things. We'll also be having guests on there that are involved in politics in our community. And you do not have to be from Indiana to listen to this. We are going to show you how we call out bad government in Indiana and how it's possible to make change in a place that doesn't seem like you can. And you can use that model for wherever you are in the country. Project Next Media is all about making your life better, regardless of where you live. We care about you. Okay, guys, any final words before we get off? I'm going to put the music on. Shout out to my husband for making the music for us. Chris Blessing, love you.
Good job, Chris.
Yeah.
And then see you guys tomorrow at noon with Tim Peck for his show, Dr. Tim. And then I think that's it, you guys. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. Thank you, Rick Cannon. I asked you to be on to give us info about fire info, so thanks for doing that.
Yeah, great information, Rick.
We're doing more to get this media company started. We're just getting started. It's only going to grow. So thank you for those of you that are some of the early people watching. Love all of you guys. Thank you, Scott, for being on and helping. Thank you, Brian, for coming over and doing this with me.
Thanks for having me.
I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.